No. I was familiar with that too, but that's not for now.
Yes, there you go.
That too. Mothers of the Bible, told by Yahweh's perspective, a little bit different. I'll just be naming some mothers here today and telling you a little bit about them biblically. First on my list, Deborah. I picture her on horseback in this one, riding out to battle, leading 10,000 troops, and waiting for Yahweh Elohim's word. For she has realized that unless the country's leaders act, the Hebrew people will be annihilated. Deborah was a judge, a prophet, a warrior, and for our purposes, a woman of prayer. She was wise and discerning, brave and beautiful. And she credited other women with helping to win this battle. Don't hear that much in the Bible and the way we've read it, but I'm going to read it a little bit different today, with no intervention from me. We do know, though, no accounts of the kids are in the Bible, but we do know that she gave birth, because we know that because it says so in Judges 5:7. Turn to Judges 5th chapter, the 7th verse. Judges 5, 7th verse. Well, let's read it. The leaders ceased in Israel. They ceased until I, Deborah, arose. Until I arose, a mother in Israel. Note that. Why did she rise? The men in charge went against the word of Yahweh. They chose new gods, small g. Then war was in the gates, in the city itself. Was there a shield or spear seen among 40,000 in Israel? Apparently not. Verse 9. My heart is toward the lawgivers of Israel, who offered themselves willingly among the people. Bless Yahweh. Real mothers love their people, forecast imminent danger, take steps to fight it, that danger, within the laws of Elohim, Yahweh, and serve on the front lines if necessary, ready to lay down their lives. I never heard any of this before. It's there. It's right there in the Bible. Move on. Judges, the 4th chapter, the 1st verse. And the sons of Israel again did evil in the sight of Yahweh. When Ehud was dead, and Yahweh sold them into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan, who ruled in Hazor. The captain of his host was Sisera, who lived in Harosheth of the nations. And the sons of Israel cried to Yahweh, for he had 900 chariots of iron, and he mightily oppressed the sons of Israel 20 years. And Deborah, the prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, judged Israel at that time. And she lived under the palm tree of Deborah. She had a special palm tree named after her. We'll see why as we go on. Usually judges did their work at the gates of the city. Right out the side, right in, you came in the city, the gates were right there at the front gates. That's what usually happened. She did it a little bit different. Deborah sat in a tree, and the people came to her tree to be judged. And the sons of Israel came up to her for judgment. And she sent and called for Barak, the son of Abinoam, out of Kadesh in Naphtali, and said to him, has not Yahweh the Elohim of Israel commanded, saying, go and draw toward Mount Tabor, and take with you 10,000 men of the sons of Naphtali and of the sons of Zebulun. And I will draw Sisera to you, the captain of Jabin's army, at the river Kishon, together with his chariots and his multitude, and he will deliver him into your hands. Verse 8. And Barak said to her, if you will go with me, then I will go. But if you will not go with me, I will not go. A word comes to mind, but I won't say it here. Verse 9. And she said, I will surely go with you, but the journey that you shall take shall not be for your honor. For Yahweh shall sell Sisera into the hand of a woman. And Deborah arose and went with Barak to Kadesh. And Barak called Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh. And he went up with 10,000 men at his feet. With 10,000 men at his feet, he was still simping out. I said it. 10,000 men at his feet, and he was still scared. And Deborah went up with him. And Heber, the Kenite of the sons of Hobab, the father-in-law of Moses, had separated himself from the Kenites and pitched his tent toward the plain of Zanaim near Kadesh. And they told Sisera that Barak, the son of Abinoam, had gone up to Mount Tabor. And Sisera gathered all his chariots, 900 chariots of iron, and all the people with him, from Harosheth of the nations to the river of Kishon. And Deborah said to Barak, "Up! For this is the day in which Yahweh has delivered Sisera into your hand." Doesn't look like it, he said. Has not Yahweh gone out before you? So Barak went down from Mount Tabor, and 10,000 men after him. And Yahweh struck Sisera and all the chariots and all the army with the edge of the sword in front of Barak, so that Sisera got down from the chariot and fled on his feet. But Barak pursued the chariots after the army to Harosheth of the nations. And all the army of Sisera fell by the edge of the sword. There was not a man left. And Sisera fled on his feet to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber, the Kenite, the close relative of Moses. You see where this is going. For there was peace between Jabin, the king of Hazor, and the house of Heber, the Kenite. And Jael went out to meet Sisera and said to him, "Turn in, my liege, my lord. Turn in to me. Do not fear." Anytime someone you don't know mentions fear before you think it, you don't go with them. You really don't. And you'll see why in a minute. Do not fear. When he had turned into the tent, she covered him with a rug. And he said to her, "Please give me a little water to drink, for I am thirsty." And she opened the skin of milk and gave him a drink. He asked for water. And she gave him a little bit more than he thought. I'm thinking something's going on here. He wasn't thinking that way, though. He was running for his life. And he said to her, "Stand in the door of the tent, and it shall be when any man comes asking for you, saying, 'Is there any man here?' you shall say, 'No.'" Then Jael, Heber's wife, took a peg of the tent and put a hammer in her hand. I told you. And went softly to him and struck the peg into his temple and beat it into the ground, nailed him to the ground. For he was fast asleep and weary. That's the way he died, tired and weary. And behold, as Barak followed Sisera, Jael came out to meet him and said to him, "Come, and I will show you the man whom you seek." And when he came into her tent, behold, Sisera lay dead, and the peg was in his temple. And on that day, Yahweh subdued Jabin, the king of Canaan, before the sons of Israel. And the hand of the sons of Israel went on and pressed hard against Jabin, the king of Canaan, until they had destroyed Jabin, the king of Canaan. At the hand of a strong woman. 2, to be exact. And many others that we never heard of that were in that story. Next, Hannah. We have heard of Hannah, haven't we? Infertile and filled with grief because of it. Hannah pours out her heart to Yahweh Elohim at the temple in Shiloh. She negotiates with Yahweh to give her a son, then promises to turn him back to Yahweh when he has completed his nursing. We'll find this in 1 Samuel, the 1st chapter, the 1st verse. 1 Samuel, the 1st verse, starting at verse 1. And there was a certain man of Ramathan, Zophim, of all mornings to get these names. And there was a certain man of Ramathaim, Zophim, from the hills of Ephraim. And his name was Elkanah, the son of Jerome, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, and Erithite, and Ephrathite. And he had 2 wives. They always do that, don't they? Usually more. And he had 2 wives. The name of one was Hannah, and the name of the second, Peninnah. And Peninnah had children. Any man worth his salt would never have more than 1 wife if he was really, truly following Yahweh Elohim. Truly. Not those followers that, you know. If he had, he would not have asked Hannah what was wrong. He would have known already. But we'll see here, he did. But Hannah had no children. Verse 3. And this man went up out of his city from year to year to worship and to sacrifice to Yahweh of hosts in Shiloh. And the two sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas. It just gets worse and worse, doesn't it? You know who Hophni and Phinehas are, don't you? I'll tell you that story on another day. That's not a day for mothers. Well, not that kind of mother anyway. The priests of Yahweh were there. The priesthood was weak. Therefore, the people's fealty to the word of Yahweh Elohim also was weak. The customs of those times permitted polygamy. Not the customs of Yahweh Elohim, no. The surrounding nations. You know how the Israelites love to copy the customs of the surrounding nations. The customs of those times permitted polygamy, not the word of Elohim. But wherever there was more than one wife, we find the peace of the family greatly disturbed by it. Verse 4. And the time came that Elkanah offered. He gave portions to Peninnah, his wife, and to all her sons and her daughters. But to Hannah he gave one double portion, for he loved Hannah. But Yahweh had shut up her womb, and her foe also provoked her grievously. You know who the foe was, huh? The other wife. Probably her children also. And her foe also provoked her grievously in order to make her tremble, because Yahweh had shut up her womb. And as he did so year by year, when he went up to the house of Yahweh, so she provoked her, probably about those double portions of meat given at the temple. And she wept and did not eat. And Elkanah, her husband, said to her, Hannah, why do you weep? And why do you not eat? And why is your heart grieved? Questions he knew the answer to if he was any kind of man. But a man of character wouldn't have had more than one wife. Am I not better to you than 10 sons? It's not about you, bro. At this point. And Hannah rose up after they had eaten in Shiloh and after they had drunk. And Eli the priest sat on the seat by the side post of the temple of Yahweh. And she was in bitterness of soul and prayed to Yahweh and wept sorely. And she vowed a vow and said, O Yahweh of hosts, if you will indeed look upon the affliction of your handmaiden and remember me and not forget your handmaid, and will give to your handmaiden a man child, then I will give him to Yahweh all the days of his life. And there shall no razor come upon his head. Also, she wanted him anointed into a priesthood, like others had been. Verse 12. And it happened as she continued praying before Yahweh, Eli noticed her mouth. Now Hannah spoke in her heart, only her lips moved, but her voice was not heard. And Eli thought she had become drunk. And Eli said to her, how long will you be drunken? Put away your wine from you. And Hannah answered, no, my Lord. I am a woman of a sorrowful spirit. I have neither drunk wine nor strong drink, but have poured out my soul before Yahweh. Do not count your handmaid for a daughter of wickedness. For out of the abundance of my meditation and grief I have spoken up till now. And Eli answered and said, go in peace. And the Elohim of Israel grant to you your petition that you have asked of him. 18. And she said, let your handmaid find grace in your sight. So the woman went away and ate. Yeah, faith. Finally she ate. And her face was no longer sad. And they rose up in the early morning and worshiped before Yahweh, and returned and came to their house of Ramah. And Elkanah knew Hannah his wife, and Yahweh remembered her. And it happened when the time had come around, Hannah conceived and bore a son and called him Samuel. Just what the people needed as well as the people of Israel at that time. Somebody to finally take Hophni and Phinehas in hand and put them out. Saying, because I have asked of Yahweh. And the man Elkanah and all his house went up to offer to Yahweh the yearly sacrifice and his vow. But Hannah did not go up, for she said to her husband, until the child is weaned, and then I will bring him to, so that he may appear before Yahweh and stay there forever. And Elkanah, her husband, said to her, do what seems good to you. Stay until you have weaned him. Only may Yahweh establish his word. So the woman stayed and gave her son suck until she weaned him. And when she had weaned him, she took him up with her with 3 bulls and 1 ephah of flour and the skin of wine, and brought him to the house of Yahweh in Shiloh. And the child was young. And they killed a bull and brought the child to Eli. And she said, "O my Elohim, as your soul lives, my Lord," or Elohim, "I am the woman who stood by you here praying to Yahweh. For this boy I was praying, and Yahweh had given me my petition, which I asked of him. And I have returned him to Yahweh. As long as he lives, he shall be given to Yahweh." And he worshiped Yahweh there. Little Samuel grows to be the last judge and military leader of Israel at a time when the nation is particularly violent and morally corrupt. Like his mother, he is faithful and just, committed to serving Yahweh and country faithfully, as real mothers do, are courageous in letting their children step confidently into their futures in the guidance of Yahweh Elohim. I'm not done. The widow of Zarephath. I found good ones. While scavenging to make a fire for her dying son, this starving woman encountered a stranger who asks for food. Although there is none to spare, and she wants to give her son the attention and food he deserves, she somehow finds resources to make a meal. Unbeknownst to her, the stranger is the prophet Elijah. We'll find this in 1 Kings, the 17th chapter, the 8th verse. 1 Kings, the 17th chapter, the 8th verse. And the word of Yahweh came to him, saying, "Arise, go to Zarephath, which belongs to Sidon, and live there. Behold, I have commanded a widow to keep you there." Verse 10, and he arose and went to Zarephath, and came into the entrance of the city. And behold, the widow was gathering sticks. And he called to her and said, "Please, bring me a little water in a vessel, so that I may drink." And as she was going to bring it, he called to her and said, "Please, bring me a piece of bread in your hand." And she had said, "As Yahweh your Elohim lives, I do not have a cake, but only a handful of meal in a pitcher, and a little oil in a jar. And behold, I am gathering 2 sticks, so that I may go in and dress it for me and my son, so that we may eat and die." That was all they had left, and nothing was coming. 13. And Elijah said to her, "Do not fear, go, do as you have said. But first, make me a little cake from it and bring it to me. And then make for you and your son. That wasn't an unusual request for men in those times. Women were an afterthought at those times. But this one turns out a little bit different. Verse 14. For so says Yahweh, the Elohim of Israel, the pitcher of meal shall not be emptied, nor shall the jar of oil fail until the day that Yahweh sends rain onto the earth. Verse 15. And she went and did according to the saying of Elijah. And he and her house ate many days. The pitcher of meal was not consumed, and the jar of oil did not fail, according to the word of Yahweh, which he spoke by Elijah. Verse 17. And it happened after these things, the son of the woman, the mistress of the house, fell sick. And his sickness was so severe that there was no breath left in him. After all that, her son dies. 18. And she said to Elijah, what do I have to do with you, O man of Elohim? Have you come to me to call my sin to remembrance and to kill my son? And he said to her, give me your son. And he took him out of her bosom and carried him up to the loft where he was staying and laid him out on his own bed. And he cried to Yahweh and said, O Yahweh, my Elohim, have you also brought evil on this widow with whom I am staying by slaying her son? And he stretched himself on the child 3 times and cried out to Yahweh and said, O Yahweh, my Elohim, please let this child's soul come to him again. And Yahweh heard the voice of Elijah, and the soul of the child came into him again, and he lived. And Elijah took the child and brought him down out of the room into the house and delivered him to his mother. And Elijah said, see, your son lives. And the woman said to Elijah, now I know that you are a man of Elohim, and that the word of Yahweh is in your mouth is truth. Her grain bins miraculously overflow, and her son's health is restored. Little acknowledged fact. Yeshua refers to her strength and kindness when he returns from his 40-day journey in the wilderness with Satan. Turn to Luke, the 4th chapter, the 24th verse. Luke, the 4th chapter, the 24th verse. And he said, truly I say to you, no prophet is accepted in his native place. But I tell you truly, many widows were in Israel in the days of Elijah, when the heaven was shut up 3 years and 6 months, That's some reading you got to do on your own to know why. When great famine was throughout all the land. 26. But Elijah was not sent to any of them, except Zarephath, a city of Sidon, to a woman, a widow. Real mothers minister to others in the midst of desperate circumstances, and Yahweh sees them through it. One more. Fifth one. Mary, mother of Yeshua Messiah. Or Miriam, or Mary. A lot of you don't think like this, but I think like this sometimes. And it takes me some places that I usually don't want to go, but drag me along, you'll convince me. Miriam or Mary could have refused Gabriel's request. Yahweh Elohim would not have demanded that she bear his son. After all, Yahweh Elohim is the primary believer in free will in the known universe. And that same universe was designed for it to be so. And that is not happening right now in any way, shape, or form. And I'm getting in trouble now, but I'll go there too, politely. Ukraine, all of a sudden, is producing 80% of the world's grain. And I have already told you why that war is raging there, and why your bread pricing is going to go up a lot next week. And the only thing that is produced there is good wheat bread. And I'll go back to this. What was I talking about? The known universe and the lack of manipulation of Yahweh Elohim in that universe. And that same universe was designed for it to be so. But the bloodlines were set from the dawn of time. He knew Miriam would do it, as he knew that Joseph would not turn her away if she had done it. This one we just reviewed at the Passover, but this angle is a bit different and will be interesting. Turn to John, the 2nd chapter, the 1st verse. And the third day was a wedding in Cana of Galilee. And the mother of Yeshua was there. And Yeshua and his disciples were there, invited to the marriage. And when they lacked wine, the mother of Yeshua said to him, They ran out of wine. This is the part you all didn't know. This was a major social indiscretion at a wedding. To fail providing adequately for the guests would involve social disgrace beyond your imagining. And these, y'all all, you all went to a wedding now and they ran out of everything. Y'all would be just like you are now. In these closely knit communities of Yeshua's day, such an error would never be forgotten and would haunt the newly married couple all their lives. When in that little town there, they would move to get away from it. As now, same physiology, same psychology. Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. Yeshua said to her, "Woman, what is your concern? What has to do with me? My hour has not come." His mother said to him, her servants. Why was his mother having servants at this wedding? I'm telling you something in pieces without saying it. This was one of his siblings' wedding. Whatever he says, do it. Why did Mary ask Yeshua to do something? Mary was no doubt earnestly anticipating a couple of things. Yeshua's day of demonstration, for it would be a vindication for her. After years of backbiting, the persistent rumors about the panther, anybody heard that one? Read up on that one for yourselves. The panther. The panther, I'll say it again. It's plenty out there. Plenty out there about the panther. And the cuckolded Joseph. Cuckolded Joseph. Cuckolded. C-U-C-K-O-L-D. Look it up. Cuckold. She had heard these rumors all her life. All her life. And so many tales, some of which persist to this day, surrounding Yeshua's birth, especially among non-believers. Yet, she would not force the issue, leaving the matter with Yeshua as to what he would do. Woman, he said, what does your concern have to do with me? Yeshua refers to his mother with a term of respect, but he does not call her mother. Yeshua wanted to emphasize that there was a different relationship with her now. Just as close, but now different. The world, especially the Catholic Church, would advise themselves, if they were wise, to do the same thing. All of a sudden, in their eyes, she is in charge. They worship her. That's not how that's done. That's not how it's supposed to be done. But tell them that. And the way to do that is let her do it in the times to come. And that's probably what he will do. Note this. Jump down to John, the 19th chapter, the 25th verse. John, the 19th chapter, the 25th verse. And his mother stood by the cross of Yeshua, or the stake of Yeshua. And his mother's sister, Mary, the wife of Clopas, and Mary Magdalene. When Yeshua saw his mother and the disciple whom he loved standing by, and the world has some dirty jokes about that too, he said to his mother, "Woman, behold your son." 27. Then he said to his disciple, "Behold your mother." And from that hour, that disciple took her into his home. Real mothers, sometimes at personal expense, say yes to Elohim. And the world is transformed. And she didn't hear any more rumors after that either, while she was in that other house, until she died, as her husband did. Joseph. You have these names for a reason. Any questions? Any comments? Yes.
When Joshua had the water pots refilled with water, there was a ritual they were supposed to go through, cleansing those things so many times according to the hierarchy. He didn't do that, so he played a practical joke on him at the same time, snickering under his breath, I suppose, at the whole thing, that these people were now drinking wine out of an uncleansed vessel.
I didn't have time to get that one in there. Where I found that is in the Blue Book. That's the only place I found that. Only place I found it. And it was so narrowly framed, I couldn't do it here without doing some other stuff along with it. Ruby.
I noticed in the book that when you're talking about the relationship between the mom and the son, even though there were small little pieces of it, it showed that they had great character and they enjoyed. It's okay, honey. They enjoyed themselves. They had a great bonding, and she.
We need it for the recording, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah.
And she was playful, and he was playful with her.
The only place.
I could see that, and I thought that was very special. Because in all the scriptures, it always shows sadness. But to show that Christ and the mother had such a beautiful bond. And it doesn't talk about the brothers or the sister or the dad, about the surrogate dad, but the mom and the son. I think that was just so tremendous. I think it was beautiful.
That was mentioned when he did that in the Blue Book. David Guccic is the writer for that. I got you. And the only other place that playfulness was seized upon between them is the movie The Passion of the Christ. Mel Gibson put that in there because he saw it in the other versions of the Bible that the Catholic Church used to complete the story. He didn't use the other stuff, but he used that. And he saw it there. And a lot of people have. Vanessa.
Hannah was the mother of Samuel. The same Samuel that became king.
No.
No?
Who chose
No.
the king?
He chose the king.
Well, helped bring him to. So Samuel is the one who found Saul, who informed Saul that he would be the first king of Israel. And then also Samuel was the one that Christ used to, or Elohim used to choose David. Even Samuel was like, David, this puny little boy is going to be the next
Okay. Okay. He was a prophet.
Yep.
Okay. He wasn't the one. He wasn't the one with 700 wives.
No. Solomon.
Solomon. Okay. I'm sorry. All right. Thank you.
Sheeta.
This is a bit irrelevant, but it's interesting to me. It's interesting how, especially when someone's at their lowest, if they're at their lowest and they give to someone else, that's when Christ fulfills them. Like going back to the widow, she had nothing for her son, and then she gave to a prophet or a man of Elohim, and then she received a surplus. Or with Job, after he prayed for his friends, then he was healed and his life was restored. So it's amazing how when we're at our lowest, we like to think, oh, well, this is all I've got. I got to hold on to this. But it's when you give, that's when it's given back to you.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
It's amazing, but true. It always comes back. Not really from that same person. Right. Those are the blessings.
Any more?